Alrighty, welcome everyone. Just got a little bit of a warning here. YouTube did remove my previous video with Zach, so I just got to put a little disclaimer up. We are not experts. I am a comedian. Don't take anything I say seriously. This is all a fucking joke. And relax a bit, I think, is the lesson we need to learn. Yeah, we're not experts. Anyone that's on here, I mean, at least for now, is not experts on this, any medical stuff. So do not take our opinion as medical advice. We're just, kind of regurgitating all the stuff that we're hearing out there and kind of, relaying it to all of you in a nice little package. So, yeah, we're not doctors. Don't listen to us for any doctor advice is the lesson. Alrighty. How are you doing, Lauren? Do you want to kind of explain to everyone who you are and why I've got you on and what it was like for you a couple of weeks ago?
Well, my name's Lauren Easton, guys. I grew up in Perth and have been living in Melbourne for the past 5 years. And the reason I moved over was for work. So I got my degree in biomedical science and moved here, started working in that area for a while, even in clinical research, and then changed fields, and now I'm studying natural medicine. And lately, my experience here in Melbourne has been quite horrific. It started in 2020 with the lockdowns and all the tyranny, the control, the police restricting our freedom, but that coming from a higher place and yeah, just struggling with the protests and getting our voice heard. That's been one of the major challenges that we've had here in Melbourne, Victoria, trying to understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I was just telling you before, like up here in Queensland, it's a completely different scenario. Like we're not having any of that kind of stuff at all. Like we're just walking down the streets and it's fine. There's no issues at all. And
now,
so like, yeah, you go.
I was just going to ask. Now you say that, but when we had the anti-medical coercion protests, and I'm sure you guys had one there in where you are, how did that roll out with the police?
Well, I wasn't at it personally, so I can only say what I've heard. But it wasn't anything compared to what was going down in Melbourne. Like from what I understand, everything was allowed to be happen here, and there was no people being arrested or detained or anything like that. As compared to Melbourne, where shit kind of got out of hand, and the cops were, for whatever reason, detaining people and fining people and stuff like that. So,
very interesting.
Yeah, and it's weird, like going out to like just walking the streets and stuff. There's no, I don't know what it's like down there with wearing masks when you're out, but we don't have that up here. There's no. Maybe 1 in every 1,000 people you see wearing a mask, but it's usually an old person. It's usually because they're, being extra precautious. They've got their wheelie walker and they're walking down the street and they've got the mask on. So, I don't blame them. If you're 90 years old, do everything you can, I mean.
What about on public transport or in shopping centres or things like that?
No. I don't really know too much about public transport. I've caught the train a couple of times in the past week and I didn't see anything. But Coles, Woolies, shopping centres, no one gives a shit. there's no masks, there's no nothing. Yeah. So when you go out to the shops where you are, is it everyone mask or what's it like?
Yeah, the fear is very high here amongst people. So when you go on a train, there's normally everyone is in a face mask except for people who don't believe in them or have exemption. So
I just want to say I believe face masks are real.
All right. Yeah, just put the disclaimer. Yeah, the
face masks are real. I can't say if they work or not, but I think they're real.
Real thing, unfortunately. And you are required to wear them if you like in an enclosed space, so if you can't keep the 1.5 meter distance between people. That's what what the regulations say.
Wow. And you'd say it's pretty much like 99% of people are wearing the mask.
Yeah. People are very scared here.
Do you know what the numbers are down there for people that are currently dying from cases?
I don't. We should check that out.
Yeah, I just googled it. Let's see if we can find out.
Okay, cool.
Victoria deaths 820, but it doesn't say when. It looks like there was a peak back here in August, and then it looks like it's been flat, since then. So I don't know what the fuck. Don't know what's going on there. Wow. Okay. So maybe in August it would have made sense. Let's see if we can just get. Oh no, can't do it. What about over here? Yeah, no. Oh, total cases. 3 since February, 20th of February.
Since February.
Yeah, and that's cases. That does not say deaths. That says cases.
And how creepy are people?
That's weird. How creepy are people?
Yeah, creepy and crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like, I understand, like, protecting yourself and staying safe. Like, I get that. But when it's something with a survival rate that's like in the high 90s, 99%, it's like, what the F are you doing? The cold is worse than this at this point. It's like,
well, I think
it's really strange.
What you're seeing is people just behaving in a very irrational way, because that's what we've been told to do. We've been told to be and exist in a state of fear, that we should be on our nerves about everything, because people are more controllable that way. And you see the effect of it. People look to the authorities blindly and just accept every single thing they have to say on the matter. So, there's not a whole lot of critical thinking going on here.
Unfortunately, like if you'd asked me like 5 years ago if this was going to happen, anything like this level of disconnect or not logical thinking in this country, I never would have thought that would happen. If you said America, I could easily understand that, because that country's full of morons. But over here, I did not see this level of cognitive dissonance happening here. Like that is a strange thing to actually witness and see taking place here. Very, very strange. Actually, we're talking about. Oh, sorry. You go.
No, I was going to say, why do you think people are so compliant? That was the thing I was going to ask you.
That's a good question. I think still too many people get their news from legacy media, and I think that's brainwashing them. Yeah, I think there's a large chunk of the population that still gets their media from actually going and doing the research themselves online. So that portion does realize what the fuck is going on. But I think I don't know about the majority, but enough of a population size is still getting their news from the legacy. So they're still believing this narrative that, the whole world's ending and everything's burning and the end is nigh and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. When in reality, it's just fucking Sunday, it's just another day. It's not, it's not anything different, Not to say that there aren't people out there dying. I fully understand that. But I think what happens as well is I think there's a business that's running at the moment, which is the mainstream media, legacy media. And I think they know for a fact that fear sells. So if they have a story where it's scary and there's an enemy, I think that story sells more than, grandma down the street selling fucking flowers or whatever it happens to be. That story is never going to do the same. So I think they have an incentive as well to prop up the story and put as much fear into it as possible so that it gets more clicks and more views and makes more revenue for their stockholders. So I think that comes into it as well. And I think what's happening is they're just perpetuating this, fear story. And Facebook's doing it as well, where they're getting more clicks. So fear actually generates more clicks. So if that's happening as well, you've got all these conglomerates, intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know, I can't say, but what they're doing is forcing, these clicks to happen and these views to happen and this fear to spread. So I think it's just I think there is truth there, but I think what they're doing is exaggerating it more than what it is, so that it seems like it's the fucking end of the world, but really it's just like a paper cut or something like that.
That's the case. I hope that it's not the end of the world.
I think there would be a lot of other stuff happening for the end of the world to be happening. What are your thoughts? Why do you think it's being portrayed the way it is? Or people are thinking of it the way they are?
Like you were saying, this is a big business. There are many people profiting immensely from this scamdemic. And that's what it is.
I like that one. It's a good one. Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, they created the problem, but they also create the solution. Even going back to the pharmacy.
How nice of them.
They've been doing that for many, many years. Disease is business, and they don't ever truly heal you from disease. They just,
of course not,
suppress the symptoms. And that's one of the main reasons why I left that whole world, was because I wasn't seeing people actually being healed well and truly from what I was learning. And it's such a big problem. But this is just the way the world runs, or the world as we know it.
I'm not too sure how much longer it's going to last, though. Like, I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 more generations that are going to die off, the boomers and all that. Once they go, they're really, like, I can't think of anyone who's under the age of 70 who watches the news. Like, I don't know anyone who actually does. So for me, it's just news is at the airport, it's at the doctor's office, the dentist. It's playing 24/7 on those, and everyone over the age of 70. But when those people die off, just with old age, I don't think the news is going to be around after that. At least, on TV, because everyone under the age of 70 goes online. Like, everyone goes online to find out what's going on. So unless something happens in the online world where our thoughts get, taken over or whatever, which could happen with Facebook going the way it is, but I don't know how many people use Facebook anymore. That's also dropping off. So I think we're reaching this point of this awakening online where, people like Eric Weinstein or Brett Weinstein or people like that who are very well educated are coming forward and being like, hey, you don't have to listen to these legacy people anymore. Here's what we know. Here's our knowledge, and let's share it and kind of get it out there to everybody. So now this, extreme level of knowledge that, you had to go to uni for, or you had to go to these elite circles to get a part of, that is now becoming available for everyone. So I think what's going to happen with the internet is that people are going to wake up and get a higher education just by, bringing out their phone and reading what's on their phone, as opposed to what's being fed to them via the news. So I think it's going to drop off. And over the next 20, 30 years, our, overall intelligence is going to rise to the point where this kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore, because we're also educated enough to know that this is how the fucking game works, and this is the plan for everyone.
Yeah, I've never quite thought about it in that way, but yeah, you could be right. Could be. That mainstream is a dying business.
Yeah, well, it is. It is. There was I don't know if you know about this ACCC code that was happening. You would have seen Facebook removing Australian news. You would have seen
that was absurd. That was crazy.
Yeah, so I was following that since it started in November last year, and basically what happened is Rupert Murdoch basically threatened. He has friends. This is my opinion. He has friends in the ACCC who are putting this bill forward to say, hey, Facebook, Google, everybody, you need to pay us for our content, regardless of if anyone clicks on it or not. We need a flat fee. And one of the reasons they put forward for this was because since Google, basically took over the news, they saw a drop-off, legacy media, a drop-off of 40% of their media, which means no one's fucking going to it anymore. And they were upset about this, so they wanted to be paid. So back in November, Facebook and Google were like, fuck off, we're not going to pay you for nothing. And then obviously they've been in legal battles back and forth, and obviously Facebook a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, whatever it was, said, Rupert, don't threaten us, we're much bigger than you are. So they cut the news off to prove their point that who the fuck watches the news. I think that I think that showed it. But bringing their argument forward, saying that 40% of their news has dropped off just because of online views is, I mean, it speaks everything there. It's like no one watches it anymore. Who's watching it? And that 40% isn't going to stop. That 40% is going to keep growing and growing. So I don't think they'll be around much longer.
As that generation dies off, as you say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't think of anyone my age who watches the news. I don't know anyone. I don't know a single person who does. Nobody. I don't know if you're different.
Perhaps. No, look, I don't own a television, but I know
that's my point. Like that's exactly my point. Like
my parents still watch the news. Actually, a number of people do. In my circle, maybe it's different over there, but yeah, you could. It also makes me wonder, like, how the narrative is going to start being controlled through social media. Like, if they can't have their effect, their influence through the television or the newspaper or whatever it might be, how they will start changing and manipulating what is shared on social media platforms.
Yeah. There was there's a bit off of what we were talking about before, but there was a thing I was watching, I think it was yesterday, and they were talking about how Facebook is eventually going to become the Truman Show. And everyone, instead of being an overall Truman Show, they're just going to individually tailor it. So every single person has their own version of the Truman Show, which is just going to entrap everybody. So, yeah. I think, though, because more people are talking about that, and because the engineers behind Facebook, behind Google, they're coming forward and saying, hey, this is a bad idea. I don't let my kids on this shit. I don't think anybody should be using this. I think as that happens over the next couple of years and more people stop using it, I think that Facebook will have a turning point, a fork in the road, if you will, where they need to make a decision of either they continue to make these individual Truman Shows or they back off and say, okay, we've kind of reached a limit of what we need to control in society, and, this is it. So either they do that or just people leave and, go to Google Blocks or whatever the next fucking thing is,
I tend to kind of be of the opinion that Facebook has been designed to be as addictive as it is for people. And it's all been part of the plan. I believe that everything that we're experiencing has been in the pipeline for a very long time.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't know if there's like some group behind it all, but I definitely believe that I've heard Facebook being described as digital meth, and I 100% agree with that. It is being designed to be as addictive as possible, like genuinely as addictive as possible.
They even did a study, I think, on what you share and when people react to whatever it is that you post. There's like this dopamine release from the brain. So they've definitely put a lot of psychology into this.
Definitely have. This is a point I've made, I don't know, 1,000 times on my channel, and I'm sure everyone here is over it. But even like I was talking to my sister, who is much smarter than I am, like on a whole fucking different level. And she's got an 11-year-old son. She's got 2 kids, but the 11-year-old son just got an iPhone for Christmas, previous Christmas, with everything on it. Just a full supercomputer in his pocket at 11 years old. And brand new iPhone, like top of the fucking line iPhone, right? And which is already fucking flags. And we were talking about Facebook. Yeah. And I was like, so he's got it on there and he can just do whatever. And she's like, yeah. was like, fucking hell. Like, and then we started talking about how it is addictive. And I was like, think about this, right? If it's just me and you in a room, just me and my sister in a room, and, you know, the challenge is, you know, the smartest person in the room wins. She's going to come out on top without a fucking doubt. But if you put her in a room with two of the smartest people at Facebook, those people are going to win. Now, if you put her in a room with 1,000 of the Facebook employees who are the top smartest people in the world, graduating from MIT, Harvard, the best of the best of the best in the world are going to work for these companies. If you get any of those people and you put them in the same room, she is going to lose every time. Now, if you get all 22,000 employees of Facebook who are the smartest on earth and you put them in a room against anybody, they win every time. Now, you take those people and you put an 11-year-old brain in the same room as them and you expect that 11-year-old brain to come out on top, it's not happening. There's no way. There's no fucking way on earth that he is coming out of that in any way winning that. It's not happening. It's not physics. It's not how reality works, you know? So very strange. And I've even heard engineers as well say that even though they're aware of how it works, when they go on it, they still suffer the same addictiveness, even though they're aware of what it's doing. So
yeah, that's right.
It's so I don't see that lasting. But we'll change the subject because I could talk about that for fucking years really. You were talking about friends in Israel and what's going on there with the COVID and do you want to let us know, because I'm sure no one in my audience has a single clue as to what's going on there at the moment.
Okay, well, for those who are watching, you may or may not have heard that Israel is now the largest vaccinated population at the moment, and they are currently creating a two-class society where people who are vaccinated and people who are non-vaccinated are being treated differently. The vaccinated population have all their freedom and rights as they once did, which was completely normal to everyone. But those people who are not vaccinated are now denied the right to go into certain places, be on, certain areas on the beach, or go into cafes or shopping malls, all this kind of stuff. So it's very alarming because, they are the prototype for what will come to a town near you very soon.
Wow. I didn't know about the beach thing. So they're not allowed to go in public spaces.
So one of my friends sent me a picture and he couldn't believe what he saw. He's now been vaccinated, but he said to me, Lauren, I can't believe it. The chair said for vaccinated people only, because they set up all these chairs on the beach for people who want to come down and relax and enjoy themselves. And that was what was written on the chair, that particular seating area is for vaccinated people. And to me, it's so reminiscent of like the apartheid era, where people of different colors, whether you're white or black, you were segregated based on race. Now it's a segregation based on whether you've been vaccinated. And, people are saying, oh, well, the difference is that you have a choice whether to take it or not. And you can't choose your race, so it's completely different. Well, no, it isn't. I clearly don't see the point there, because it's the same thing. Why should you be coerced into taking medical advice? Medical advice and an experimental vaccine that we don't know the effects of now. It's ludicrous.
Nothing.
So this is what's going on in Israel. They have now rolled out this thing called the vaccination passport. It's a green pass, and you receive that upon receiving both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. So you may know with the Pfizer one, you have to have one shot and a second. And then you get this green pass, which gives you that freedom to go and do whatever it is you wanted to do, like go to a cinema, for example, or do any kind of leisure activity involving other people.
Shopping. Yeah.
shopping, etc., etc., and travel, of course, international travel on planes. But what people haven't realized is that green pass is only valid for 6 months. So when that 6 months is up, you're going to have to receive the vaccine again to get your green pass for another 6 months.
For the rest of your life, because I'm assuming that COVID will be here forever. Yeah. It's not going away.
That's the other thing they started putting in our brain, that we have to start getting used to living with this virus, you know? It's not going away. I remember Scott Morrison was going on about that all the time. Oh, the vaccine's not a silver bullet, you know?
I think you need to look up what vaccine means. It is. That's exactly what it is. Is what it's meant to be. Oh, fuck. I've actually got some video loaded up. Let's see if we can get it going.
Yeah.
So this is in Israel. So this should be of people having to show their passes, their green passport, as you called it, to get into the shopping center. Thanks, Zach, for this one. This is fucking nuts. Says their little slip. This is in Israel.
Yeah.
This is happening. Of all places for this to happen. Yeah, you go.
I was just going to say, now, in Israel, I was there in 2019, and this is normal to see security guards around shopping malls. They normally do like a security check, but it's not normal to see this type of thing where they're checking paperwork, you know, and like to see whether you've got a pass to get in or not. Vaccination passport. Yeah. You can continue.
That's so strange. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
You would really think that out of all of the people on Earth, these would be the last people to let this shit happen. Like, genuinely. What the fuck?
Yeah, you would think so. Wouldn't you?
Oh, they get a little sticker. I didn't see that. Oh, fuck, man.
Oh, there we go.
Do you know what he's saying? Do you speak Hebrew?
I don't know. No.
Nah. All right. Well, damn, we missed what he says, but far out.
Yeah.
What a crazy thing to witness.
And not to mention also the side effects. Like they're publishing articles saying that people are, they're not having such bad side effects. But every single person that I know has had side effects from taking this vaccine. Yeah. From shaking. My mother's best friend lives there, and she said to me when she took it, she was shaking a lot and couldn't control herself. And I saw a lot of videos circulating on Facebook of this exact situation happening. For her, the symptoms subsided after a few days, but then the second vaccine, that was only after the first one, she started having these terrible symptoms. And then after the second one, it was even worse, but then she became okay. And my other friend, he was saying like he couldn't eat for 24 hours, loss of appetite, swelling of, like, some people were reporting swelling of the genitalia, which is very odd. Women eating. Yeah, so this one person, friend of a friend, went to the hospital because he had this problem, and they didn't know what to do with him. They genuinely did not know what to do. So, yeah, that's pretty full on. It makes me wonder what is this vaccine just doing?
It's very strange. Me and Zach, the other day, we were talking about how it was how they're doing testing on ferrets, and that did not go well for the ferrets, to put it that way. I won't repeat it here because this will probably get it removed. I don't know what got the video removed, so I'm just being careful with what I say here. But if anyone wants to go look it up, just go search for what happened in the ferret trials. It was not good for the ferrets. Put it that way. Not saying humans are ferrets, but it was not good for them. A lot of bad stuff.
It's not good for them.
it stands to reason. Yeah, it stands to reason. Probably not a good idea for us. And then it's weird. You've got people like Bill Gates pushing this, and it's like, what the fuck does Bill Gates have to do with a fucking vaccine? In what world do I listen to this guy for fucking medical advice?
That's
what
right.
The fuck? And why? Yeah. Go code, bro. Like, go fucking code something. I don't give a fuck what your opinion is. God damn.
Isn't it interesting that a few years ago, I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but he started talking a lot about depopulation, and that if a pandemic was to hit, we are rather underprepared. So already, I don't know why he would be getting people used to that idea, for starters. I don't know why they would say such a thing, but he did tell the world about it. And sure enough, what happened, you know?
Did he do anything to stop it as well, you know? Doesn't seem that way.
No. Have you looked into the Georgia Guidestones?
The ones with the carvings in it that say we have to reduce the population of like 500 million or whatever it is. Yeah. A long time ago, so it's not fresh in my memory, but I vaguely know it. It gives like the blueprint, doesn't it, of how to reduce it, or what the perfect Earth is.
Yeah. So it's like for those of you who don't know, the Georgia Guidestones is set up in Georgia, America, where it's like the largest region that has granite. And they, like, someone who I think remained anonymous, established in the 80s or something, these like strange looking tablets that somewhat resemble like a 10 commandment situation. And it's in so many different languages. That's the other interesting thing. It's in hieroglyphics, it's in Hebrew, Mandarin, English, like literally a whole multitude of different languages. And it's this set of rules from 1 to 10 of things which seemingly like normal and pleasant. But then there is one point that's particularly odd, which says keep the population in perpetual balance with nature, which was under 500 million. Well, that's great, but what happens to the rest of us, you know? And it begs the question, like, why is that structure then, and for what purpose? There it is.
These are them there, yeah.
It's also heavily monitored. There's cameras set up there. So, people who are watching what's happening around this monument. It's very protected, and it's something to research, guys, because it's I think it ties into a lot of what's going on now regarding the depopulation agenda. So where does this,
you can see there? I don't know if you can make it out there, but there's some sort of I want to say Japanese, maybe Korean. I'm not a linguist, so I don't know. And then
language.
This seems like I'd say Indian of some kind. Every language on there, which is very strange. In Georgia too. On this right side, like Hindu.
Hindi
on that side. Yeah, and then on this one, that kind of looks like Egyptian right there.
Apparently,
so you go.
At the top of the structure, it's stained red. People have somewhat suggested the idea that it is also used as an altar for ritual sacrifice, which is a bit creepy. Because got all these like red stains from the actual bird's eye view of the monument.
Oh wow.
So does anyone have any idea about where those philosophies came from? Because I find this rather bizarre.
Could just be some rich millionaire just trying to waste their money. I guess. I mean, I don't know how much granite costs, but
that's the case.
Oh, here you go.
What's this?
Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Hebrew, Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
that's going back a while.
Yeah.
English, Spanish, Greek, Swahili, and Hindi. There
This
you
is
go.
a very important structure.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a few languages on there.
Mm.
Babylonian cuneiform.
Oh gosh, I didn't
Holy
even
shit.
That's crazy.
That is the original language of humans. That is the oldest one we know about. There's nothing that comes before cuneiform. So I don't know how the fuck who they've got involved in that one to write it in cuneiform. But that is very interesting there.
So just something to bear in mind, guys, regarding the depopulation agenda. Understand that this could potentially be linked to the Georgia Guidestones and other things as well, but that's just one of them.
Yeah. Do you want to talk as well about the kettling that was going on, like what your experience was like in Melbourne at the protests? What you guys were protesting, what happened, all that kind of stuff.
So I've been to many of the Freedom Day protests. I've actually
I've lost your audio, sorry.
Oh, really?
This could be my headset. Bear with me.
Yep. You okay? Is it back on? We'll just wait a minute.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I think. Sorry, try talking.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I think it was my headset. Sorry. Sorry.
That's all right. So I've actually been arrested 4 times now for protesting. And it all started in 2020. And I was at the first Freedom Day rally, which happened at the Shrine, and we all got kettled there. Not at the Shrine, but at Albert Park. That's where we got kettled. And that was a very intense and frightening experience for me, because it was the first time that I've ever been in that situation. The first time I've ever seen riot police, these guys in these like hard shelled exteriors, all in black with like heavy weapons on them. It was just crazy. And after that, the mind becomes used to seeing that kind of thing, and you get used to being arrested many times. And the most recent protest that I attended was the anti-medical coercion protest. So this was not done in lockdown, scenarios. We've been given the freedom, apparently, to go around and be outside of a certain kilometer radius. So we all rocked up. Thousands of people came, which was really beautiful to see. People with their families and little kids, babies. Everyone was there. And it all started at Faulkner Park in South Yarra. And it was lovely. We were listening to everyone speaking. Jackie was there. Monica Smith was there. They were talking a lot. And then we went on a march with all of our wonderful signs and everything. And the police knew where we were going. They had, they knew. They were just standing around the perimeters, just making sure that, no trouble was caused. But we were all very peaceful, as always, And then we're walking down the side path on St. Kilda Road, and that's when things started getting a bit interesting. All of a sudden, the police formed a line, a barrier, and then they started pepper spraying people spontaneously, unprovoked, and this is in front of little kids. It was just so alarming, and it really, really upset me. And they started
as it would anyone.
Yeah, because nobody was doing anything we weren't doing anything wrong. We were just on our walk. We were making our way back to Faulkner Park where we started, and they knew that. They knew that this is what we were doing. So why they started pepper spraying people, God only knows. They started arresting people randomly, which was very bizarre. I don't know why that was happening, and it's just, yeah, it's a very strong response.
Do you know if they've given any reason now since then as to why they were pepper spraying people? What was going on there, or they were just loose?
No, they don't explain what they do. They just do. They act. I mean, obviously they received an order to do that, so that's what they did. And also, I think that the police tend to make kinds of spontaneous arrests because they want to kind of create a story that the protesters are the ones who are violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
keep the narrative going.
Yeah, they behave in a certain way to make sure that we are appearing as the ones in the wrong, and they are there just making sure that everyone's kept in order. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. What has the media been like down there? Like, I'm not exposed to it, so I don't really see it. But I don't mean what they're reporting on the news. I don't really give a shit about that. But actually, there at the protest, were they covering it? Was there anyone there, or many companies there, or what was happening?
So Channel 9 was there, and they were actually there in the moment where people were getting pepper sprayed. And in my live stream, you'll actually, I'm not really sure where it is, but you'll notice that the Channel 9 reporter walks past me with his, with the other reporter he's with, and he says to her, that was a very bad move from Victoria Police. So
no shit.
yeah, it's interesting the conversations that they have off screen, but when they are telling the story, it's quite biased. You know, it's very agenda driven. I find particularly from Channel 7, they were also there. Channel 7 always twists the story a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they've done many times at the any protest that's happened regarding freedom and
regarding anything. You don't see any good stories from them anymore. You just don't. Far out. And they just, I'm not understanding from their point of view how they can think that it's okay to start pepper spraying people. Like I can't fathom what the fuck is going through their mind when they're deciding that that's a good idea. You know, time to pepper spray protesters. It's usually at that point where the protesters are needing the pepper spray to calm them down, to disperse them, to send them home. They're smashing shit, or shit's getting out of hand. Was any of that happening? Anything getting smashed? Anything getting out of hand? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing was happening. We were all marching peacefully with our signs. That's the only thing that was happening.
Fucking hell.
Like 100%. I'm telling the truth here. That's
I believe you.
As it was.
It's just fucked. I'm laughing at how fucked it is.
It's so messed up. It's so messed up. This has happened on multiple occasions, you know. So yeah, that's what they did. And this one man was covered. His whole face was just covered in pepper spray. And he was laying on the ground trying to recover. Eventually the paramedic had to come because he really couldn't see for such a long period of time. It's a complete abuse. And
were the cops staying there with him? Because I'm pretty sure cops have to stay there with people while they get pepper sprayed. Like if someone gets pepper sprayed.
Well, they so the ones who pepper sprayed him didn't stay there. They just kept chasing us down the other end of the street. But eventually we got up to a section where that we were kind of close to Faulkner Park, and he just laid on the grass, and that's when the paramedic came. And then some police officers were standing around him. I was very angry with them. And this is, no doubt. We can't be directing our anger at the police, but it's this delicate situation because what we are so angry about is what they represent. You know, they're staying in these positions as police officers, and they want to keep their job. But I just can't understand how a person can carry out the orders that they're given to do and have no afterthought, no compassion, no critical thinking about what it is that we're doing.
I would very much love to have one of those cops come on here and have a conversation with me about this kind of stuff, because I can't. To me, it doesn't make sense that these cops are okay with this. Like, I was in the military for a long time, 5+ years, and I can tell you right now, at the beginning of the day, you get your morning brief. You get sat down in the room, and they tell you what's going on for the day. So I had maybe 4 friends in there who were cops before they joined the military, and they told me, like, it's the same thing. Like, it's the exact same thing. And I couldn't imagine cops sitting in the morning briefing room, their boss coming down and saying, "Hey, this is what we're going to do," and then none of those cops being like, "You sound like a dickhead, mate. We're not doing that." Like, I just can't. I can't imagine that happening. So, to me, when I see all this and I watch it on the fucking video and I see it, I'm like, what is going on here? What do these morning briefs look like? Where these people are coming back and just agreeing, just being like, "Yeah, boss, that sounds like a great idea. We're going to go down and fuck up peaceful protesters." Like, it just, it doesn't make sense to me. And maybe because I'm up here in Queensland, maybe because our cops are a bit different, I've got that mindset. But it just, it seems so fucking dumb that none of these cops are standing up to their dickhead boss that comes in and says, "This is what we're doing." Surely some of those cops are just being like, "No, I'm not partaking in this. This is retarded. This goes against what it means to live in this country." Yeah. It's so strange.
Well, you may have heard, Finn, of the platform Cops for COVID Truth. So there are a number of police officers who have left their jobs because they exactly recognize what's going on here. But for the most part, there are still a number of police officers who've just decided to comply with all of this. It's crazy. And we always remind them of the police who have taken that step of courage and walked away from their jobs, and with the hope that they go home and, think about it or look up the website and do a little bit of investigation for themselves. So I guess we'll never really see the fruit of that labor, so to speak. But
it's a sad one.
Yeah. But
do you think it's better that they? Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, you also have to remember, and I remind the police of this all the time, that they go through complicity tests. When they are recruited, they are tested to see how obedient they will be to orders. So when I remind them of that, that's when they pay me some attention to what I'm saying, because they know that's the truth. And I just hope that it gets them thinking, a little bit more about what they're doing, Yeah.
Do you think it's better for them to stay in and question their boss, or do you think it's better that they leave to make a point?
That's a good question. I would probably be of the opinion that it would be the best thing to just leave. Because I think action speaks louder than words always. But having said that, I would love to know what would happen in the reverse situation if the police were to stay in their jobs and actually just start questioning and wanting to change the structure of the way things have been done.
I think I'm not a fucking expert by any means here, but I feel like if they did leave, then the police force that would remain would be full of people that would just, follow the fucking leader and follow the orders and not actually critically think about anything. So I think,
which is what's happening.
I'm not too sure. Exactly. Which, that's not going to fucking end well for anybody. So I don't know if, I don't know, but I don't know if leaving is. It's hard to say because it makes the point. It makes the point, hey, this is ridiculous, and then it opens it up for the public to see that. But then at the same time, then the people who are left, they're in this feedback loop, whereas just those people who you don't want to be the cops, who are then left as the cops, the ones who just blindly follow. So I don't know.
Powerful if they all left, but realistically, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the real world is a brutal mistress, if you will.
So,
yeah, never works out the way we want it to. It's very strange. Do you know any cops down there, or what are they like when you have these conversations with them? Like, do many of them actually enter the conversation, or do they just leave it?
Well, yeah, when we're in a situation where we're kettled by police or the police at the protest, they are quite robotic. They don't really speak back to you. They're there to follow orders. So that's, I think, by and large, one of the creepiest things that people feel about the police is that they have lost their humanity. Like they don't want to show that they are human. And I don't think that works for people. People want to know that they're talking to another person and then that they're feeling heard. And that's why we're there at the protest, is to be heard and to be to have our voice accepted and considered. And they're not wanting to do that. They just they don't talk back to you. They'll kettle you and then they won't explain why. But then you're stuck in that situation for like endless hours. I mean, I've had some interesting conversations. Like on the first time I was arrested, I had a very lovely police officer he was very nice to me, and he even though I was in handcuffs, he was very, very polite. It was a very strange situation, and he was like saying to me, "Oh, are the handcuffs too tight? Let me loosen them." Really, really bizarre.
Sounds like a Queensland cop.
He was very laid back. He was from the country, so fair enough.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was really
probably knows everyone that he polices. Yeah.
And we had a conversation whilst we were standing in the massive line of all the people who were arrested, and he, said to him, "On your badge it says uphold the right," and it's very alarming because we don't feel like our rights are being upheld. And that's the conversation I had with him. And he said to me, "I'm standing here as a police officer and I have to actually observe what you're saying, but not agree with it." But he said, "However, if I was outside of my uniform, I might think a bit differently." So that was quite interesting.
Yeah. I've seen a few rallies in America where there has been ex-police there talking to the actual police, being like, "Guys, I'm retired now, but this is strange. This is strange. This should not be happening. I don't know what's changed in the police world since I've left, but this is very weird that you're kind of cracking down on the freedoms to assemble in public. Very strange. Very strange. I haven't seen that here. As you're describing, it sounds like it's the exact same thing happening. Is they are realizing. So maybe we need country cops. Maybe every cop should have to go out to the country for the first 10 years, and then after 10 years they have to come back into the city, and then and then we get that way of ruling.
That would be nice. But I think the problem is that the corruption's just at the top, in the police force. That's really what all of this is exposing to me, that there is some very, very deep corruption. I also tend to kind of be of the opinion that the reason why we're seeing a lot of brutality from the police here in Melbourne, Victoria, is strongly linked to the smart cities network.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that.
Yeah. Under Australian laws anymore. This is something very different, and people are a bit alarmed by it. So Yeah, it's the Smart Cities Network is a initiative of the Chinese Communist Party, and it was successfully rolled out there. But now what they're wanting to do is to link up the two ends of Europe, Africa, Oceania, through the Road and Belt Initiative via smart cities. And Victoria's website, the entire city. So I think that's the reason why we're seeing a lot of that brutality happening here, but not in other states. Like Queensland,
Yeah, I mean,
Western
yeah,
Australia.
they'd have to have a trial place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so you think somehow China is kind of influencing the police force down there to kind of start enforcing really non-Australian rules and start enforcing Chinese rules.
Yeah.
Laws, I should say.
Yeah, because there were so many things that rolled out that is quite similar to whatever regime's going on over there. But when we had the lockdowns in 2020 and the curfew, so we had an 8 p.m. curfew here in Melbourne where we couldn't leave our house after 8 p.m. and before 5 a.m. It was so good. I felt like I was like Dan Andrews is my parent and I was a small child and he was telling me I could not leave the house. What a bizarre place to find yourself in, to
8:30. Fuck.
No, not 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock to leave your house.
And what happens after 8 o'clock? What happens then? Fucking hell.
The streets are dead. The highways, everything's just quiet. And, it's just, you feel scared because the police would be patrolling up and down, looking for people.
Oh, they're allowed out. They're allowed out.
Yeah, they're allowed out of policing.
Different rules.
Policing curfew. So they've got to come, and I was petrified. If I was to go out somewhere, if I was going to a friend's house or whatever, I was constantly just on my nerves looking for police everywhere. It's just crazy. How can you live like that, And there, later on it was admitted that the curfew was not actually in the interest of health advice. It was for some other agenda. And whilst the curfew was happening, all of these surveillance cameras started popping up around Melbourne. So there were shipments of all these like surveillance cameras that were installed in the CBD, literally in that time bracket. And then you start walking around the city going, well, I never saw that before. All of a sudden, the cameras are there, got all this construction work going on. And you could see also when you, there's like a website you can go to see whether construction work is happening at certain times. And there was a whole bunch of it happening across Melbourne on the website in curfew time.
So they've done it when no one can see what they're doing. Very interesting. Very interesting. Wow.
And we were having...
That's something to think about, yeah.
The planes were coming in. We had planes coming in from China into Melbourne in like the heavy lockdown with the curfews and all. The planes were coming in with all of that equipment.
Wow. That's very strange. I remember Zach talking something about the planes coming in after the curfew time, but I did not realize that. So they're coming directly from China with all this equipment on it for all this construction job.
I don't know how to pronounce the region, but I think it's called Guangzhou, something like that. Yeah, that's where the planes were coming from.
Wow.
You could also on the airport website.
Yeah, all of it's public info. Wow. That's I love conspiracy theories, so this is, piquing my interest right now. That's so odd. That's so odd that they'd be doing that. I'd very much love to hear the justification for that one. What's that, sorry?
But it's genius at the same time because literally no one says see what's going.
Yeah. And anyone who does, they're just a fucking crazy conspiracy nut.
Of course.
It's actually quite smart, yeah. Genius,
Or not
genius.
wearing a conspiracy theorist.
I don't know if you've seen my channel, but that's all I am. I'm I'm finding a lot of very intelligent people are coming forward now, backing up a lot of conspiracy theories that 10 years ago there's no way I would have thought there'd be intellectuals coming up and backing these. So I think going back to what I was saying before,
they're coming true. Like, seriously,
yeah,
it's not a conspiracy, it's a reality.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to describe the events happening now, people who believe the delusion of the stories they're told through the mainstream media would be like, oh, well, that will never happen. They'll never start locking people in their houses. They'll never start doing home invasions or anything like that. Little did we know that's what happened. People were getting arrested for making Facebook posts, for making organizing protests. Just for the organization of a Facebook event, you can have your home invaded, and that's what happened in Melbourne. People were arrested, and they had their media seized by the Victoria Police.
That was I covered that video on here. That was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. She literally made a Facebook post and was arrested for a Facebook post in her own home. In her own home, they came in and arrested her.
Yeah.
No. In no world, in no way in this country should that ever fucking take place. And
no.
I don't think you could find an Australian that would agree with that, that would ever agree with what happened to her.
So then comes the question, I mean, you really have to start thinking, is it a democracy that we're living under here in Australia? As we were told, that's what we live under. And that's what our ancestors...
Who told you that?
Well, that's what, was fought for in this country, was for freedom and democracy. Yeah. And that's what we were taught. And no, it's quite the contrary, really. We don't have any freedom of speech or any freedom of movement here anymore. So what kind of regime are we under? Yeah.
It's very weird because, like, the entirety of history, so I got Scottish bloodline in me. So my dad's side is all Scottish. So we've been fighting against fucking Remus and Romulus since day one. Since they laid the first fucking brick, my people have been fighting for the freedom. So it's very strange that it's the year 2021 and every single battle that has been fought by the people has been fought for freedom. Every one of them. There hasn't been one that hasn't been fought for freedom. So it's very strange that we're now living in a world that is the descendants of all of those battles, where people have died, like lives have been lost, have been sacrificed for that right. And now we're living in a world where we've given all that up and not everyone seems to be okay with it, or no one's fully aware that they've given it up. I don't really know how we've gotten here, but there was no battle fought for it. It was like one day we were free to fucking walk the street and then the next day we weren't. Very interesting. I think not so much here in Queensland because we've still it's still okay, but seeing it down in Melbourne and talking with Zach, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this shouldn't be happening. And it's so strange too, like, to take a non-conspiracy theory kind of side, I guess. The mainstream media, there is no reason the mainstream media shouldn't be reporting on this. This should be a headline story, right? Like I was saying before, fear sells. So if you've got a story about people losing their freedom, that story should be running nonstop, but it's not. But it's happening. And no one's denying that it's happening. And no one's talking about it.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird. And when you actually think about, now this is gone conspiracy, but when you actually think about who has to be involved for that to take place, the people in government, the people in media, everything, the whole infrastructure that has to be in place for that to happen is very scary. That is very scary for it to play out the way it has been playing out. very odd times we're living in. Do you think we will allow it to keep happening this way, or do you think we will crack and stand up? Because I think, sorry, I'll get your answer in a second, but just to add to it, I was going to say, like, at the moment, it seems to be confined to Melbourne. A little bit in Perth, actually. Now I think about it, Perth has been seeing it a little bit more as well. So maybe because it's confined in Melbourne at the moment, once it starts leaving Melbourne, that's might be when it starts. People might start waking up to it.
Look, I think we have to consider that this is a global operation, playing out in every single country. So in certain areas where you feel like life is relatively normal and that you haven't had so much change to your daily routine, it's just a matter of time, Yeah. I really believe that it's just a matter of time. The legislation is already in place in Perth, for example, regarding the forcible detainment of a person to vaccinate them and remove their underwear, which is really, really
Did Zach show you that?
Well, yeah, he did go over it, but this is something that I looked at a long time ago, and I actually, because my parents live in Perth, I sent this legislation to them thinking, I wanted to get out of Melbourne and I wanted to go back home to Perth, but I just don't know, because it's just a matter of time with that legislation in place. Like, since when did that get passed in Parliament?
Yeah.
When did we ever have knowledge that that was even going to happen?
Yeah.
And let alone have a say in that, whether or not.
It feels like we should get a vote on that.
100%, especially when it's concerning the people, the very people who are going to have this this medication forced upon them, So it's that to me is just very, very alarming. And I have to check out other states in Australia what their legislation is, but I was very concerned to read that in Perth. And so
my brother-in-law is from Perth, and it's when I was over there, everyone is so friendly. Police, everyone. I don't know if your experience is different, but it's definitely a very friendly. I'd say Perth and Queensland are very Brisbane and Perth would be very similar with their friendliness of everybody and their friendliness of the cops. So I'd be very interested to see if there's any cops that actually know about this or have been enforcing it, and what would happen if their bosses actually did tell them, hey, we've got to start enforcing this stuff and we've actually got to start stripping people down. I couldn't see Perth cops doing it. Perth cops seem to be pretty smart, pretty switched on. So I don't know if I could see them doing that. I don't know if you would have more experience there, because I've not lived there. I've only visited. Would you agree with that, or do you think that they may still follow?
I think Perth people are pretty laid back. Perth in comparison to a big city like Melbourne, Perth is like a small country town. People are very chilled out over there. It's a very laid back kind of lifestyle. That's really what I miss about it. But having said that, I have seen videos. You know how Perth had a little lockdown period where it was an intense lockdown, and literally the same amount of crap and fear that they said, in Melbourne happened in Perth. And this one guy did a video, and he was in Fremantle. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a town kind of near the beach. And he was riding around on his bike without a face mask. And the police pulled him over and wanted to question him about it. Like, you need to go and get a face mask. There's a store over here. They're all very nice about it, but they were also pushing the matter. Like, you need to be wearing a face mask. And he said, well, no, I don't. And then they wanted to fine him. They did want to fine him. And he just rode off, on his bike.
Oh, fuck yeah, what a legend.
But I reckon if
yeah.
you Perth enough time, Melbourne was in lockdown for months. I think we spent the larger part of 2020 in lockdown. I think if that kind of thing played out in Perth, the same situation would happen with or without the police. The fear would be the same, and the police would be pushing the policies, the face masks, the social distancing, the kilometer radius of wherever it is you can and cannot travel. So it's that's what I believe.
How do you think we fix it? Do you think we need to educate the cops more, or where do you think it's the politicians, or where do you think it is we need to change this to make sure that it doesn't end up in a tyrannical dictatorship?
It starts with yourself. I think it takes a spiritual transformation.
Well, I think everyone that's watching this is pretty switched on. I'm having very similar conversations with you right now as I do with all my friends who watch this stuff. So I think all of us are all pretty switched on, but I don't know if I could say the same about the police. I want to believe that I could say that about the police and the politicians, but I'm quite sure all of the politicians are corrupted, and I kind of think that the system is built that way. I think as soon as you introduce money into politics, that kind of corrupts the system. I don't know if that was designed deliberately, but I definitely feel that that's the way it is built. On purpose or not, I can't say. But do you think that we need, so the educated people are the people who find themselves really? But what can those people do?
What you mean when you say educated? Because I find that the majority of people coming out of universities are now indoctrinated the narrative so especially in the arts.
I could not agree with you more on that.
And science as well. So all the people that I studied with, not all of them, but I've got a few really good friends who are capable of understanding and discerning truth. But then there are people who just accepted everything that they were taught by their lecturers, and they came out completely indoctrinated with all this leftist propaganda, and it's getting worse. Now the younger generations, there's no conversation with them. You can't have a conversation because they've made their mind up.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't made their mind up. They've been indoctrinated to think a certain way.
Yeah. And now their mind is forced. I don't know if you've heard of a guy named Yuri Bezmenov. He was a Russian KGB spy.
Yes.
Yeah, he talks about this exact thing. I only recently found out they assassinated him. They shot him in the face. They killed him.
Of course
while he's living in America. Yeah, of course they fucking did. But he exactly. But he spoke about this exact thing. That's where it happens. That guy I mentioned earlier on before as well, Eric Weinstein. He's a physicist, Harvard, fucking MIT, fucking genius. And he actually is working for a company now called Thiel Capital. And what they actually do every year, they give away 20, I don't know what you'd call them, but they give away $100,000 to 20 people to drop out of university and just go follow their passion. Because so Peter Thiel, he was the first person to invest in Facebook. He was the first one before they went public, before anything. He saw what it was and he chucked a shit ton of money in it and came out a fucking billionaire. And then Eric started working for him and then made even more billions for him. And now Thiel basically trusts all of his money with Eric, and Eric just takes it from there. So he doesn't believe in education at all anymore. His brother should have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize for his work that he did in sequencing the genomes of rats, of mice. and it was taken away from him, for all these bullshit reasons because he wasn't part of the club and all this crap. So Eric is actually trying to, of course, exactly. But how sad is that? It's so sad. But Eric has now set up, the Thiel Foundation, where 20 people a year from like Harvard or, very high up places get $100,000 to just, there's no limits on it. Here's $100,000, drop out of uni, just go do whatever it is you want to do. Anything you want to do, whatever it is, here's $100,000. You don't have to pay it back. Nothing. Just go do it. So now I see ways of combating that. But he makes this point as well that the universities have failed. They now, he speaks very negatively of universities, but he's essentially.
I just have to get the door for my brother. Sorry.
Yeah. Go for it. I'll keep ranting everyone so you can all hear. So his plan is basically he thinks since the 70s, that's it's all universities have become pyramid schemes, and so what he's trying to do now is to get people to drop out of the universities and to now go pursue their passions, and actually contribute to society, because he genuinely believes, I think it's since 1973, every university has turned into a pyramid scheme, because you have a certain amount of professors who are training their whole class to become professors. And then it just creates this pyramid scheme of hierarchicalness, because there's not enough funding because they limited the funding. So now you've only got a certain amount of positions that everyone's fighting for. And then it literally creates a pyramid that only the people at the top of the universities get to decide who graduates. And it's fucked. And you see that happening not only in America, but that's now happening everywhere. Everywhere in the world is following this exact pyramid structure of the universities. So I think Yuri was right. I mean, Yuri predicted all of this, and nothing he said has turned out to be wrong. It has all turned out to be real. So I don't know if we can. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to. Like, I don't have $100,000 to give to 20 people a year, so I can't do that. So I'm trying to think of stuff I can do right now. And I mean, short of making videos and trying to educate everyone around me, like I don't know what else to do. I was wondering if you have any thoughts to people out there like myself or yourself, or what we do to try and save ourselves from these massive billionaires, trillionaires even.
I don't know that we do. Maybe I'm
very negative.
I don't know if we can overcome the beast, because it's so big. And I'm not necessarily, I'm okay with that, like, because I know that is ultimately bound to fall and go to a very dark place. But I think that you can only do so much as one person. You can spread awareness, you can protest, you can write to your MPs, you can do all this stuff, but you just have to live in truth, It's all you can do. Live your life in truth and completely reject that system, that way of being. I mean, as a people, we are far larger than that 1% that's orchestrating all of this stuff. So you would think that if everybody just woke up, how much more powerful we would be over them. But the reality is that they do have a hold over the masses. Not everyone's capable of thinking critically and being independent. It's part of human nature is to be part of the herd, right? So that's herd mentality, and you have to be the black sheep to not be a part of that. And there's not so many of us out there.
Unfortunately, yeah. There's Douglas Murray's got a book on that actually called Madness of Crowds. So what were you saying, sir?
No, I was just going to say that people only wake up at the last minute when they're having their homes invaded and they're literally being dragged out the door. That's the only time people will wake up and realize they're going to the slaughterhouse,
It's not till we're on the trains.
You know, that's how history has happened with Nazi Germany and with so many other, you know, events in history. Yeah, dictatorships. This is how it's happened. And people, like, I never understood how people could watch that happen and do and say nothing. Now it makes complete sense to me because I'm seeing the symptoms of that pathology in our current world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people, you know, especially in the Jewish community, they would always go on about this, like, how can you compare, you know, Nazi Germany to what's happening in Melbourne with the omnibus bill? There are many lecturers of you know, the Holocaust who would say otherwise, like, wow, we are seriously in several stages ahead of what happened with the Enabling Act of 1933, which gave Hitler the ability to make decisions without the intervention of Parliament. Same things happening in Melbourne. That's how it starts. And people don't want to know about it. Like, it's too uncomfortable for them to
cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like they get paralyzed with this fear and they're so stunned that they can't actually do anything, or they don't want to because it's just so uncomfortable for the mind to even go there.
Yeah. Well, everyone's kind of making their own story up as to, you know, what reality is or how things are. And when someone comes along and says, actually, that's not how it is, there are bad guys out there and they are coming for you, people don't really want to believe that because then it goes against what their entire value system is, what their entire life is, you know. And it's what is it? What's the old saying? It's easier to brainwash someone than it is to convince someone they've been brainwashed. It's like, that that makes sense. Yeah,
it's very true.
Yeah, and it's like that. What is it? The cave, Plato's cave. It's like you're living in one reality that's not. It's not even close to what the actual fucking reality is. It's very hard. I do want to know though how we stop that, because I don't want to get to the point, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I don't want to get to the point where where police are coming in and busting people's doors down and hauling them away to, you know, COVID camps or whatever they decide to call these things.
Which is what they are currently setting up, by the way.
Yeah,
it's hella marine.
It's so sketchy, man. It's so sketchy.
So sketchy.
I don't know how people are fucking allowing it. It's so dumb. Like, just put a fucking tattoo on my arm already. Like, goddamn, give me a fucking number. It's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird that people are okay with this.
Yeah.
Like, pick up any history book. It doesn't matter what history book it is. This story's been going on for a long time. We all know how this ends. And I really wish I knew what the fucking answer was to this so that we could stop it, because I don't want to get to that point where people are getting dragged away at the doors. I want to live in a world, or a country at least, where we don't have to worry about that shit, where that's never going to be a thing, where we can just all relax and all be happy and know that we are being looked after by the people whose job it is to look after us, you know? I don't know if you've read this book, but there's a book out there called Battalion 101. And this is,
that one.
Yeah, check it out. It's fucking sad. It is fucking sad. But it is the story of the police battalion that was hired, and they were the first people to enforce the Nazi laws. So these were the actual first group of people that went out there and hunted the Jewish people and killed them and everything. Like, these were the first group of people that did that. And what they actually were was they just started it in Melbourne. It's the cops that aren't real cops. They're like protective service agents or something like that, they called them. But I don't know what they're called. They're not even allowed to carry guns down in Melbourne.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they're called.
Down at the train stations, the protective service officers.
That's the guys. Yeah, that's the guys. They are very similar to Battalion 101. Like,
fascinating.
Scary similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these groups of people, they weren't full cops. So the Germans hired them to go enforce these rules. And these people that joined up, they were teachers and garbage men, and they were part of
Everyday
society.
people.
And
Yeah.
exactly. And then they got hired in, small groups of people. This book is a kind of a psychology book, and it's talking about the mental capacity of how these people went from everyday people to literally murdering mothers in front of their fucking children, and at points, ripping children in half in front of their fucking mothers. How you take someone from that to that. And one of the things that they were saying when they interviewed some of the people who dropped out in the original formation of the group is that what would happen is they would get a group of 20 or sometimes 10, and they would send them out to enforce the rule, and they would do the practice. And what would happen is if the guy at the top gave the order to, kill this person even though they'd done nothing wrong, what would happen is that the people who didn't want to do it, they didn't have a choice. They were given the illusion of choice, that they could leave at any point. At any point, they could give up and walk away. However, they knew full well that at the end of the day, they would have to go back to the barracks with the other 19 people who stayed and had to carry it out. So that what would end up happening is that if you're in the position, right, you would have to leave all your friends to go do the work that you couldn't do.
Yeah.
So if you didn't want to kill the person, your 19 other friends who you've been living with now have to go kill that person that you couldn't do. And now that murder's on their hands instead of your hands. And then what ends up happening, it's fucked up. But what ends up happening is that after those people leave, the group of people that's left is these people that are going to do it themselves, so that everyone else in their group doesn't have to do it, because they never have this thought that they can all just not do it, because that's not how the fucking orders work. The orders are someone has to carry it out. So there's this mentality of, if I don't do it, everyone I know is stuck dealing with it, and they have to fucking carry it out, and then they all fucking hate me, and then I have to live with that with all these guys. Yeah. And then this book just goes into great detail explaining how, these average people go from average people to literally hunting the Jews. Like, it is very fucked up. I recommend it to pretty much everyone I know.
I would love to read that, because it gives
because you got to think about it. Like, it happened somehow. It had to have happened somehow. And these guys were the first. It does get sad at some points. I will give you, a bit of a heads up there. But overall, that book is, the fact that every cop doesn't get given this book during training, I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, that should be a fucking number one book you have to read to enter into training. Like, it just...
Well, I realize the police know actually very little.
Even my cop mates agree with you on that. Yeah.
Horrible. I really had a rude awakening when I discovered.
Well, you've been arrested 4 times, so you would have worked that out pretty fucking quick. Yeah.
Well, I actually, when all this stuff started going down, I was like, okay, I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to start learning about my rights, a little bit about the law, because I should. And next thing I know is like, okay, I got comfortable with the idea that I'm going to have confrontations with the cops about this. And you start speaking about these matters, they have no idea what you're on about. They don't understand constitutional law. They don't understand.
They don't know it.
The only answer I ever got from them was, this is the email that we've been given from the police commissioner. And so these are the directions and we have to follow them through. And it's like, it just blows my mind that they don't even realize and they don't know the laws that they are enforcing. I mean, I did something wrong once, which was I thought that I didn't have to give over my ID. So I played that card with them. And this one police officer, he didn't know what to do. And he just turned away and walked off.
Yeah.
I now know that they can actually ask you for ID. Yeah. Just to show you know what you can get away with.
That was I was talking to one of my cop friends, and I was saying, how long do you guys speed reading the Constitution during your training? To which the answer is 2 weeks. Now, I don't know how detailed those 2 weeks are, but if you've read the Constitution, you know that that is a very thick book, and there is no way you can read that in 2 weeks and have any fucking understanding of what that fucking thing says. There's no way.
What?
So, it's not possible. It's not. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you're Einstein. It's not happening. It's not happening in 2 weeks. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's not possible.
No.
So when I was looking into the Constitution, I found out a very funny thing. We used to get taught the Constitution in our school up until 1975, when this fella named Gough Whitlam, Prime Minister, removed it from our education. And so up until that point, we used to get taught what our fucking rights were. And then since then, nothing. And you would have thought that at that point, okay, it gets removed from us, but surely the judges still get taught it. Turns out, no. Turns out I've got a couple of lawyer mates. They tell me that they don't get taught the Constitution law. They get taught legislation law. Well, it's just called legislation. And at university, they get taught, I think it's 2 days. Don't quote me on that. It's something ridiculous. It's something so stupid. It's something about I'm pretty confident with 2 days. It's 2 days of getting taught the Constitution. And what they get given, which I have a copy, it's not on me now, it is it's like a brochure. It's like a brochure Constitution. It's probably that thick, and it's a little tiny, you know the mini Bibles you get in hotel rooms and stuff. It looks like that, but like really fucking thin. And I'm looking at this thing like, you're fucking with me, right? No. The whole class gets these things, these little tiny pocket constitutions, which has fucking nothing to do with the fucking law. So not only are the cops not taught it either. But the lawyers aren't taught it either. No one in this country anymore is taught the fucking Constitution. No one here knows the rules of the country here, which is one of the oddest things I've had to come to terms with in my adult life. Because growing up, you think your parents know what the fuck's going on, adults know what the fuck's going on, but no, it turns out nobody has any fucking clue as to what the fucking rules are, which is very, very strange.
Why is that? And was that a strategic move? Or was it
so Gough
blindly done? I don't think so.
So Gough Whitlam, it turns out, is the only Prime Minister in Australian history to be forcibly removed from the people. Whether or not they did that because I was born in 92, so I don't know. But whether or not they did that because he removed the Constitution, or whether they did that for other reasons, I don't know. All we've got to go off is the media reports at the time, which, judging by media now, I don't know how accurate that is. So I don't know. I don't know why they kicked him out. But we do know he was forcibly removed. In my mind, if you forcibly remove a prime minister for ill practice, you would then undo everything that they've done during their prime minister. Yeah, but no, they left it all in place. They didn't undo anything. They just removed him. It was almost like he was a scapegoat. He was just a fool guy,
Yeah. That is very...
Yeah. I would love to go back. I would love to go back to a world where we do have the Constitution. A country, I should say a country. I'd like to go back to a country where we get taught the Constitution in our school. It's very weird to me. This is the point I was going to make before, actually. When I was chatting with my cop mates about this, I'm like, don't you guys think it's strange that you're out there enforcing the law at the same time that you don't know it? To which the reply is always like, well, I know right from wrong. I know good from bad. And I'm like, but you don't though. You think you do, but you don't. And you've got to keep this in mind. Hitler would have thought he was a good guy. There's no way Hitler would have thought he was a bad guy. There's no way Stalin would have thought he was a bad guy. And yet they were. So no one thinks they're the bad guy when they're doing the bad things. Everyone's always thinking that they're the good person. So that doesn't really fucking fly. So you may think you're doing the good thing, but you're not. And then I asked them this. Are you at all concerned that you, nor anyone else you know, has read the Constitution and is still enforcing it? And to which their answer was, no, they think it's totally fine. And I tried having so many conversations with them about this. And there was only one out of 4 of them that I got through to that actually agreed with me and thinks that is fucked up. And yeah, they're very strange to me.
Wow.
I don't know if it's like a pride thing. I don't know if it's an ego thing. It could be. It could be that they felt that I was attacking them personally, which I definitely wasn't. But I could see that happening. But it's very strange that they don't know it, and they don't care that they don't know it because they still think that they're doing the right thing. It's weird. It's weird.
I don't know what kind of planet these people are on. It's very bizarre. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Very strange what we live in.
With humans, they don't really, for the most part, I'm saying, they don't really want to be thinking about anything that makes them uncomfortable or is going to create any resistance to what it is they do. They tend to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And for me, I'd prefer to get uncomfortable and actually look at things for what they are rather than live in a fantasy. I don't know about you, but to me that makes more sense because I mean you can perceive danger ahead, you can understand where things are going, and I'd rather be informed than misinformed or not informed at all. Yeah,
exactly. It's like there's so many shows that do it, but the most recent one I saw was like Rick and Morty, and it's living on a planet where this one being just controls the entire planet, and everyone has the same thought. And it's like, well, that's not really a world you want to live in where everyone's just agreeing with one another. You want diversity. You want all the different types of thoughts, all the different types of culture, all the different types of ideas, and you want those things to butt against one another because that's what builds the society is those different thoughts, those different ideas interacting with one another to figure out which one is right and which one is wrong, or at least which one is more correct than the other.
We've seen over time that there's always been an erosion of that by someone or some group of people. I mean, it happened with, you look at the globe, we are diverse just since existence. And there's been all these beautiful cultures and different ways of understanding. And then the West came in and started wanting everything to be more uniform with how they saw the world, And then you get the erosion of those, here in Australia, you have the stolen generation and that kind of breeding out of the Indigenous people and also bringing in different ways of living that just was incompatible with their life and the way that they understood life to be. And I've had many conversations with people about this and they're like, yeah, well, I'd rather live in a productive society. And I'm so thankful that, that the West has actually had their say in all the different parts of the world. And I don't necessarily think that it's better, It's one way of living, but who's to say it's the right way?
Yeah.
Because you learn through culture.
Exactly. Yeah. What is this progression thing anyway? It's very odd. And our society, you can't really say it's been progressing too much because it completely comes down to who's measuring it. There's not to go back to Eric so fucking much, but he makes this great point. He's like, if you take away the screens from any room, prove that you're not living in the 70s, and you can't do it. And it turns out that the only thing that's been increasing is the information technology, the microchip. That's it. Everything else in the world has remained the same. Nothing else has changed. Everything still works the same. Your chair still fucking works the same. Fans, everything. Nothing is different since the 70s. And it's just we're stagnating, but we're still under the idea that it's evolving down this path. And it's like, well, A, there's no fucking proof of that for a long fucking time, and 2, what's to say that path that we're going down is the correct path or is the good path? We need those people in the society to say, hey, that's not a good path, as well as having the people saying, yes, it is a good path. And we need those people conflicting. We need that. Otherwise, we will become Hitler. We will become Stalin. We need the people to counter us to keep us in check. And that needs to happen. And what I'm seeing with what I'm seeing with the mainstream media is that they're just pushing one idea, one consensus, and they're not challenging it. No one is challenging it. And I don't see that ending well. But again, I don't see the media lasting much longer because no one fucking buys that shit, you know?
Well, we'll have to watch and wait, you know?
Yeah, we will.
Get the popcorn out. It's exciting.
Yeah. That's what I was saying about all this shit going down in America right now. I'm like, so fucking glad I live over here. I can just sit back with some popcorn and watch the whole fucking thing and unravel. Do you want to finish it off? I got this video. Do you know who JP is? Awaken with JP. Do you know that YouTube channel?
No, I don't.
This guy's a fucking genius. We'll watch this. It's got just under 1 million views. It probably had more, but YouTube probably removed him. And he's ripping on mainstream media in this one. It is fucking hilarious. So we'll end on a laugh, bit of a high note.
Sounds good.
This is quite funny. Yeah. And then we'll cut it. Probably get pulled for, copyright or whatever, but worth it. Who cares?
Green list person, welcome to the apocalypse. Here's what we want on Mind today. Twitter and Facebook permanently ban Trump. Apple, Google, and Amazon conspire to kill Parlor. And New York wants to set up concentration camps. We'll have all this for you and more in today's edition of Here's What We Want You to Think So We Can Control You, and please don't realize you're a sovereign being who can think for themselves. In the wake of what's happening at the Capitol in small business news, Twitter and Facebook have permanently banned President Trump from their platforms. Many people rejoiced at Trump's banning, while many others grieved the loss of Twitter's greatest comedian. In a statement, Twitter said the ban is because President Trump...
It's just to add on that, like for everything that can be said about Trump, he's setting a precedence. They've now set a precedence where, it's okay to get rid of this person. But, that's the first. That's how it always fucking happens, No one cares when it's the bad guy that gets removed. But all of a sudden, now the damn wall is broken, it starts fucking coming for everyone. So don't know if that was the best of ideas.
Was using Twitter to incite violence. Twitter said the following 2 tweets were the violence-provoking ones that triggered the ban. Tweet number 1. The 75 million great American patriots who...
I don't know if this is the one I'm thinking of. This is just going into Trump stuff. But I think the beginning was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's
maybe,
funny.
Maybe there was another one. Yeah, you should check out the channel if you haven't. But very hilarious stuff, This is where we want you... What was that?
Humor is very effective, conveying the truth.
I just love his take on the news. This is what we want you to think, and please don't remember that you're a sovereign being who can think for themselves. Gold, absolutely gold.
Reality.
Thank you so much for coming on, Lauren, and giving your opinion on what's going on. And, of course. Welcome back anytime. I'm sure this shit will happen again. So I'm sure we'll have you back on with it.
I reckon when winter hits, there's going to be more lockdowns, more control, surveillance, tyranny, all of that. So, exciting times ahead.
Definitely something to pay attention for, everyone out there. So, we'll come back to it. Like, it's weird. It's so fucking strange because in no way do I want this to happen, but in no way do I see it not happening. Like, there's no world that I see right now where this just goes away and everything returns to normal. I just don't see it, especially with people like I was about to say MFers, like Klaus Schwab coming out and saying, this is the fucking plan, and then everything happens exactly the way he fucking says it does, or says it should.
How does that? How do you feel knowing that that's a real possibility?
Well, it's the reason I'm doing this. So in a way, I mean, I'm out there educating my friends. Like, to be honest, I'm having the exact same conversation on here that I would be in real life. But in real life, I don't see the conversation spreading. Whereas on here, at least I know this conversation is out there and that people can have it and kind of share it and know that there are other people out there having these thoughts. So it makes me positive that there are people like me out there, because, you know, you're here, you've got almost identical thoughts to the same ones I have. People like Zach. I mean, there are a lot of us out here. RV Yemeni, I don't know if you've heard of him as well. He's pushing this kind of stuff. So, yeah. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of fucking negative that's going on, but I also see a lot of positive that's happening at the same time. And, you know, it's shit that I'm having to fucking do this, but at the same time, at least there is people doing it, you know? So, yeah, pros and cons. Yeah,
it's very important. Yeah. So, I think that's all we can do is spread the conversation, the awareness, encourage people to think, get out of this this state of confusion, this veil that's descended over them, you know? If you can achieve that, then wow, just even with one person, it's a miracle.
Yeah, I think what we've got in common as well is that like going out and being in nature, camping and doing those kind of things are so fucking beneficial, and they're not talked about enough. Like it is so good to return to nature and get away from these kinds of things, and to just have that break and have that reconnection.
That's part of the reason why people are in this state. And this is why I say it takes a spiritual transformation in order to be able to see, because people are distracted. They are running on a program of how to be. And my whole life I've looked at these cities, these creations of man, these, like, you know, people getting up, doing the 9 to 5 ritual on the trains, just blankly staring out of the window with no thought about what they're doing. They're just blindly doing what they are supposed to do, and following the image that we were sold of how life ought to be. You know, you got to go out and be a slave for some corporation and make the money, get the house with the white picket fence, the family, all of that. I've always just observed that and gone, well, why is that the only way? You know, how is that the only way? And this just all seems so organized and unnatural and not the way life is designed to be. And there's not very many people getting out into nature, connecting with God, as I believe, and with creation around us. And I think that's so important because it really grounds you. It grounds you to what's important in this life, and not that illusion that we've been sold.
Yeah, 100% agree. You know, I think that's one thing that I do want to recommend more to people is to go out there and actually be in nature. Camp, you know, go to the beach, go to the forest, you know, get out there and just separate. Go for a weekend, go for a week, you know, just get out of the city at any chance you get and just relax, reconnect, and just go visit some animals, go see some animals, go see wildlife, you know, go just remind yourself that you're on this incredible fucking rock just floating through space, you know, hurtling through space, and you just, you know, there's being on there that should be enjoying life, not stuck with all this fucking shit getting slammed down your throat and slammed in your brain, you know. Get away from these 9 to 5 jobs. They're not good.
No good for the human soul. Not at all.
No fucking way.
I've always noticed a huge difference between country people and people from the city.
Oh, yeah.
Always. City people are far more distracted. Country people are observant. They always know what's going on. They're in tune with the seasons, with the way the sun moves, you know, where the animals are, you know, the soil, everything. They pay attention, and that's why I find those people are far more intelligent from the perspective of critical thinking, and being an individual. And when you look at people in the city, it's simply not the case. They're all little programs. It's just so scary. It's so alarming. That's not how life was intended to be.
I laugh because I don't know what else to do. Like, I agree completely, and it's fucking horrifying. But even the night sky, like even the night skies in the city is polluted to the point where you can't see the fucking Milky Way. You can't see the stars. You can't see the universe that you're a part of anymore. And you just the little Truman world. You know, everyone's got their Truman show going on, and I think the city just fucking amplifies that.
Yeah,
it's fucked. It's fucked up. I don't see it lasting though. I don't see it lasting. And with things like self-driving cars coming in, you know, if you got a Tesla going down the road at 300k an hour, completely safe, safer than any human that can drive it, you can then all of a sudden live 2-3 hours away. It'll take you half an hour, you know, to get to wherever you want to go, because you got your self-driving car taking you everywhere. So I think as society keeps progressing, at least with Elon still running the show, I think we'll get back to nature, and we'll get back to living, you know, free again and a part of the system again, as opposed to being stuck in this mechanical world that just isn't fucking good for any soul, any brain, you know. Well, I don't know about the whole God thing, but you can see a clear bad and a clear good going on, and you can see the clear difference between people living in the city and people living in the fucking country. Like, it is very fucking obvious who has the better fucking lifestyle.
Well, if anything, people who are awake or waking up are certainly attuned to the fact that they need to get out of the cities. They need to get connected to people who are growing food. They need to be connected to the land, actually doing, like, living a practical life. You know, everything we learned at university that applies within society, the construct of this life, whether it's science, whether it's art, whether it's law, it's not going to mean anything, you know? I don't actually see it meaning anything in time to come. What's going to matter is your practical knowledge, your ability to live and make your own medicine, make your own food, make your own clothes, like, just be completely self-sufficient and actually work with a community of people. Just keep it local.
Local seems to be the way forward.
Yeah, not relying on countries like China or, you know, far and distant lands to produce everything for you. You need to start going back to the ways of our you know, our ancestors, really, because going back in time, they knew how to do all these things. Like, I mean, women they're not taught how to make clothes anymore or run a home properly. In my parents' day, that was actually in their education. You know, my mother,
really?
My
awesome.
mother was taught about like homely things, like how to run a home. And women don't know how to do that anymore. And men they're not connected to the land to actually growing food and bring food in for the family. Like, it's, the whole way of this life has been to just erode all of those values and put people in this place of complete disarray where they don't actually know what to do. They don't know who they are.
Yes.
You know? So, get back to basics, guys. Start relearning how to do life as a sovereign, independent person, and stop depending on your grocery stores. Stop depending on other people to do things for you.
Do a little shout out to this guy here. This is Self-Sufficient Me, fucking legend. This guy, he will teach you how to grow anything in your backyard. Anything.
There you go.
He knows it all. This guy is fucking awesome. But I was just, you were saying before about women getting taught that in school. I was just thinking how weird it is now that we kind of live in a society where, I could be wrong on this, but this is from what I've seen, is that women are getting taught that it's a shit idea to try and have a family and try and have children and to go after that career. It's like, when the fuck did having kids and being a fucking mother become a bad thing? When the fuck did that happen? I love my mum. And who the fuck doesn't love their mum? And yet everyone, being a mum is bad?
Well,
when
that all
the fuck did that flip?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really...
It's weird.
I believe in true feminism, which is I love what women represent, and that they are born as nurturers, So that for me is it's a massive privilege to have as a woman.
Yeah,
You should delight in being able to create things, to nurture a family.
Life. You literally get to create life. That's fucking awesome. I'll never understand that. Never.
Absolutely. And the fact that that's been kind of, we've been taught to believe that it's something that is a bad thing, or that we should prioritize a career over our ability to have children. I think it's completely wrong. But again, I also believe that was part of the agenda, is to get people away from the things and the way of life that makes them who they are. Like, the fact that you have a man and a woman who can bring different skill sets to the table and function properly.
Yeah.
Now the family unit's being destroyed because now both parents have to go out and work, to run a home. The children are left for the government and for all these institutions to raise. The after-school childcare. The parents don't have a say in the upbringing of their kids anymore because they're too busy being distracted by their work. I think it's wrong. Like, we need strong women raising families, and I for one will never ever put my kids, if I ever have them, in a school. I will home raise my kids because it's just, I just don't trust what is being in the education system anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree. My goal at the moment is to save up and buy a sailboat and actually sail around the world. And I'd love to have kids on the boat, and then their education is going to be learning from all the different cultures around the world. There's no way I'm sending them to public school. There's no fucking way. There's not a chance on earth. I don't know about high school, because in some way they do have to make friends and they do have to figure out how to build those relationships. But in primary school and preschool and all that shit, there is no way I'm letting anyone else raise my child. There's not a chance on earth. There's no fucking way.
I mean, all that stuff that came out with the Safe Schools program, which was coming out of the universities, out of the psychology departments. And they're just completely destroying innocence. They are, they're wanting to further entrench this spirit of confusion over people. Like, there was talk about not putting genders on birth certificates when the child is born. I mean, that in and of itself is just, it's abuse.
Well, yeah, it's also there for fucking reasons,
Yeah.
There's a very good reason why it's on there. If you get injured or anything and you go to a fucking hospital, they need to know what the fuck to do. And they can't properly fucking fix you if they don't know what you are, all this stuff is there for a reason. Society has been built this way for fucking reasons, to go around and just flip them without any logical thought or without any planning into it. It's not going to end well. It's fucking,
I accept anyone who is, has different beliefs about what they want to be or whatever. That's fine, but I just don't understand why we have to put, because what I'm perceiving is that it is not normal biologically, but why are we elevating that into a position of power over other people? Do you know what I mean? Like why be in the schooling system,
Mm.
why can't you just treat people with respect in general and just accept that people exist like that in this world and get on with life? But why are they in a position of influence over others?
It's odd. It's odd. It's almost like a distraction. I was not to keep dragging this on, but I was reading another thing. I think it was last week, and they were talking about excuse me, COVID, and they were talking about how it's all distraction techniques. So it's like, oh, focus on this thing that is of no importance or of so little importance it's going to affect 0.04% of the population. That everyone's worried about this one thing. Meanwhile, it's like a magic trick. Watch this hand. Meanwhile, this hand is fucking where the real fucking game is happening.
As well, and with
what was that? Sorry, it broke up. It broke up a bit.
They did the same thing with the climate change agenda, and then all of a sudden now none of this stuff is being talked about. Wasn't it like 2019, 2018? That's when all of this safe school stuff was really it was popular in mainstream media. It was like the only thing that was talked about. Now that's like a distant memory for now.
Yeah.
Whilst they go on about the pandemic, and and then it was like terrorist attacks. Yeah, what's happened to ISIS? What's happened to do they just go quiet?
Where are the weapons of mass destruction? Where are the WMDs?
Yeah, I really want.
We want answers, Bush.
Where are you guys here in in COVID times? What are you up
to? They're staying safe as well. They don't want to catch COVID. All right?
Of course.
It would affect how they set up the.
They say that's what they're doing.
No more terrorism now, guys. It's just or fucking Biden coming out and labeling American citizens as terrorists. Good fucking luck with that, mate. Good luck with that.
What was that? What was that about? I haven't.
It was so he was calling not the guys who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Not those guys, but all of the people at that march he called terrorists. Every one of them. I think there was about 1 million people. He labeled all of them terrorists. That's literally, it's a bit far. It's a bit far. He did it in a speech that went for about half an hour. I'm surprised he can fucking talk for that long. He mentioned it like 5 times, called them terrorists. It's like, do you understand what you're saying? First of all, those people there are probably the most patriotic Americans in the fucking country. So they're the furthest thing from fucking terrorists. 2, don't fucking label anyone in America a fucking terrorist. That's not going to go well. It's not going to fucking end well. So yeah, if that starts happening here,
it's bizarre what's happening with politicians in general. Like if you go back in time, these people used to speak with integrity and speak with with a level of authority, and it was just you listen to it and go, wow, this person's really saying something to me. Now it's like in 2020, 2021, politicians are a joke. They literally, it's just one big comedy show. I don't understand how the erosion of integrity from a politician or a speaker, someone who's actually speaking to people and addressing people, can be like this.
Yeah. It's so fucked up.
I don't know anyone. I just, whether it's Dan Andrews, I don't understand.
I don't know if you've seen President Camacho. Do you know who that is?
No.
President Camacho is the greatest. So this is from a movie called Idiocracy, where
yes.
President Camacho, look at he wears the gold chain the presidential gold chain because the whole country just goes to shit.
Idiocracy.
Sponsored by Pepsi. Pepsi on the fucking thing. Oh man, it's literally turned into this though. Like it. Yeah. Obviously, this is playing it to a bit of the extreme, but it's not far off this. It's not far off a fucking machine gun getting fired in the fucking Capitol with fucking Pepsi fucking sponsorships on the background.
Yeah.
Or fucking McDonald's or some shit, you know?
Oh,
like, this is what it is. This is what it is. And how the fuck did it, like, Rome was Rome. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
They used to, people, like, we still talk about it. It was that fucking
powerful,
influential, and that looked up to as well, admired. And now what is it? It's interesting times. Interesting times.
It's like you're talking to your everyday person on the street. That's what your politicians.
Well, not even.
It
feels worse than that, though.
The intelligence level from these people, seemingly, well, they're portraying to be like in this way. I'm not so sure that they are that way, and I think that's what I understand. Idiocracy goes into. It explores that whole idea that they portray themselves as being stupid, but it's all part of the strategy.
No, in Idiocracy, they actually are retarded. They actually are dumb.
All right.
They are, it's...
I have to watch it.
Yeah, everything just... I'll play the little intro for everyone, because the intro is some of the greatest filming I've ever seen. Intro. This might help explain it for everybody, actually.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time
this is a bit of an odd question. But you remember the show Beyond 2000? Do you remember that show?
No.
Like a future show, and they used to come up with all this technology. It used to be this kind of stuff. Like, this used to be the thoughts.
True.
And now
you're
we
right.
have nothing. Yeah.
On, things seem to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Having kids is such an important decision.
We're just waiting for the right time. It's not something you want to rush into, obviously.
No way.
Oh, shit, I'm pregnant again!
I got too many damn kids. Thought you was on the pill or some shit.
Hell no!
Must have been taking
Brittany! No. There's no way we could have a child now. Not with the market the way it is, no.
No, that just wouldn't make any sense.
Come on out here, bitch! He don't care about you!
Yeah, well, there must be something he likes over here.
You mean nothing to me, baby?
Well, we finally decided to have children, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it's not going well.
And this is helping.
I'm just saying that before I have in vitro, maybe you should be willing to...
It's always me, right?
Well, it's not my sperm count.
Yeah! I'm gonna fuck all of y'all! That's my boy!
Cleavon is lucky to be alive. He attempted to jump a jet ski from a lake into a swimming pool and impaled his crotch on an iron gate. But thanks to recent advances in stem cell research and the fine work of Doctors Krinsky and Altschuler, Cleavon should regain full reproductive function.
Your hands off my junk!
Unfortunately, Trevor passed away from a heart attack while masturbating to produce sperm for artificial insemination. But I have some eggs frozen, so just as soon as the right guy comes along,
And so it went for generations, although few, if any, seemed to notice.
Love that intro. This is some of the greatest shit ever.
Mm.
There was it's not just sorry to keep dragging this on. We'll cut it away soon. What I was going to say. Oh, the sperm count in there just reminded me as well. Hopefully this doesn't gross anybody out. But back in 1910, the average male sperm count was 100 million. As of 2010, the average sperm count for a male is 1 million.
Wow.
Which is a 99% drop. Is a 99% drop off in 100 years.
That's interesting.
Which is not evolution. Evolution cannot work that fast. That's not evolution. That has to do the scientific conclusion, or the overwhelming theory at the moment is that it has to do with the diet. It has to do with the food that we're eating. And
the water.
Excuse me.
Where do you get your water?
Yeah. Something is affecting the sperm count of people. 99% drop off in 100 years. 100 years.
What do you think happened when
nuts.
The COVID vaccine?
Even less. Yeah, even less. Yeah. Well, pregnant, from what I've read, please no one quote me on this. From what I've read, pregnant women aren't allowed to get it. They're not allowed. I don't know if you've heard similar things, but what the fuck? Why is that a thing?
Yeah, and
Very
why
interesting.
is it that this vaccine is causing inflammation in the pelvis
The genitals. Yeah.
women?
That's and males as well, isn't it? It's not just it's both.
Got into hospital because it was just like it was swollen, and they just didn't know what to do with him. They were like, well, it's just a side effect of the vaccine. But yeah, it's incredibly odd. And women, there's been like widespread reports of women who are just spontaneously bleeding after having the vaccine. Yeah, and of course, I love it when they say, after you've had the vaccine, it can't possibly be because of the vaccine. This is always a thing that, even doctors are like, oh, well, it can't be, just give it some time. It's not related at all. I don't understand how they could say such a thing.
Yeah. It's like they're not allowed to say it. It's not the social norm, even though everybody knows vaccines aren't entirely safe, because nothing in life is entirely safe. It's just not reality. But no one's allowed to say that. It's okay that we all know that, but it's not allowed to be talked about. There's the thing. So everyone knows that vaccines aren't 100% safe, but no one's ever allowed to say vaccines aren't 100% safe.
The conversation being controlled. Why is it?
Yeah.
Remember those doctors that came out talking about the H word and zinc.
Hydroxychloroquine. You can say that on this channel. Say whatever the fuck you want on here.
Yeah.
This is YouTube. YouTube is American. Americans have freedom of speech. So, sorry, continue.
Yes, hydroxychloroquine and the zinc, and then all these alternative treatments.
Vitamin D
got censored. Vitamin D. It's crazy. My aunt was she had COVID, and she also has a underlying lung condition, and she was healed through a homeopath.
Oh wow!
Don't bring that up to the World Health Organization.
Like actual full-blown COVID. She had it.
Oh yeah, she had it.
Wow. How old was she?
Well,
she
turned 60. Wow. So she's in that age bracket of where it's you're quite likely
it's something to worry about, but she's obviously fine. Is she having any negative side effects?
She feels better than ever. That's what she said to me.
Old people always say that. Back in my day, dear.
Yeah, but no, she's feeling great, and she's completely healed. She's healed through herbs and homeopathic preparations, and homeopathy and naturopathy have been under severe scrutiny and disregarded by the medical profession and the pharmaceutical companies because it's not in their interest to actually heal people, which is why I left that, world in the first place, because it doesn't heal people. And it's amazing, just through restoring balance to your system, your body's capable of healing itself most of the time.
Yeah. It's a pretty impressive machine, yeah.
In emergency situations, where I think medicine is, modern medicine does have a place. But other than that, these people and these government bodies and the World Health Organization and all of these people have very little understanding, if any, regarding health creation. That's why people were told to slap a mask on their face, sit in their houses all day long, and all of that, and order Uber Eats, but never go out in the sunshine and get your vitamin D, eat well, get in the soil with the microbes. None of this was ever talked about, and it still is
very weird.
So they don't understand anything about health creation, and that's why I get so angry when they censor even doctors and all practitioners from having a say regarding this so-called novel virus that we don't know about. They want to control the story. So you have to ask why they're doing that if it's not agenda driven. They create the 100%. Problem, they create the solution for that problem. It's the way the world works.
It's they used to do that back in New York with the mafia. They used to come in, destroy your business, just smash it up, and be like, "Oh, pay us, and we'll make sure that it doesn't get smashed again." Well, you motherfuckers are the one that did it,
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
This time,
mafia style.
To you is that this is in the interest of your safety, and that's why they keep regurgitating the line "stay safe," because they want you to believe the government's actually keeping you safe and that they're doing this for your best interest. So eventually they repeat.
They were doing that. They wouldn't let it happen.
That's exactly what Hitler would repeat things in the media. Eventually people start believing it because repetition works.
Yep.
How it goes, and they're doing the same thing. It's behavioral psychology.
Through and through. Yeah, exactly what it is. Safety third, everybody. Alrighty. Well, thanks for coming on, Lauren. It has been a fantastic chat. I've actually really enjoyed this one. It's gone on for ages, and I've loved every bit of it.
Actually, yeah.
It's awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Oh, sorry.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Yep.
Bye.
Where can everyone find you? Do you have much of a social output? Like, where can they?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Wildchild Lauren, or Facebook under Lauren Easton, EASTON. Get connected, and would love to have a chat and talk about more COVID stuff, more truth matters. And that pursuit. So, it's wonderful.
Everyone, stay tuned. Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you all next time. Hopefully we can get Lauren back again as well. I'm sure there's going to be more stuff happening in the future, so that'll be great. All right. Catch us all later. See you later. Bye.